I'm Sonia from Hello Wellness, and we've started to host monthly webinars with interesting people that we think the people that maybe that follow us on social media or use my services would be interested in hearing from. And we've really gone for something different this month because we've got the amazing Tom Court, who is a forest bathing practitioner, and he's up talking to us from his eco retreat in the Wye Valley, which is a wonderful place that you can go and stay. I know my daughters Zoya and Dom have been up to stay with you a couple of times and always come back, just begging for more, wanting to come back straight away. But as a place to go, either for an organised retreat or as just somewhere to sit in nature and listen to the birds and look at the view. It just sounds like a completely magical place. So, Tom, welcome. You're going to tell
Hi.
us all about forest bathing,
Yeah.
connecting with nature, how it's helpful.
Well, I think the starting point is really that this is a new Japanese practice. And it doesn't mean it hasn't been done in Japan for a long time, because the earliest written record is about 2,500 years ago of the Shinto monks going into the forest to intentionally heal their physical and mental health. And fast forward to the present day, and about 30 years ago, the Japanese didn't really have this practice, and they've rediscovered it. So um, after World War II, everybody moved to these mega cities, 10, 20 million people, and the government kind of sat back and watched the average age of death drop, illnesses rise, mental health problems rise, suicide rise. And then they looked at this village in the forest where the average age was 110 and the cost of keeping them alive was really low. So the
Yeah.
government said, well, why is this happening? Let's start some research. So they got a Chinese doctor of immunology, and he started looking into the scientific benefits of being in a forest. What they found is that when you spend 2 hours in a forest, your NK cells, your natural killer cells, double. So your natural killer cells, your NK cells, fight cancer in your body naturally. And spending 2 hours in nature mindfully will double it. And the other amazing thing is that that will last for 30 days.
God, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the reason they found this out is because the trees produce a gas from their leaves called a phytoncide. And these phytoncides, the trees might use them as a defense mechanism to, if they're getting attacked by deer, they can attract stinging insects, or they could release a smell that tells the other trees to watch out. There's some danger on the prowl. But when we breathe those gases in, it really boosts our immune system. And what they found is that the trees produce these gases, maybe not all the time at such high levels. And different forests have different levels of these kind of gases being emitted. The more ancient the forest, the richer the air is full of these gases. And you may not get the full benefit from just walking through the forest, but if you do mindful connection with the forest, you will always get this benefit at the highest dose. So you can walk through a forest at a certain time of year and get these good, rich air, atmosphere gases. But if you actually do the principles of forest bathing, you will always get this natural killer cell boost. Um, you also have improved sleep. So if you went to an urban park for 2 hours, your sleep that night would be 5% better. If you went to a forest in the morning for 2 hours, your sleep is 10% better. And if you go to a forest in the afternoon for 2 hours, it's 15% better sleep. So your
Golly.
sleep is naturally improved from spending time in the forest. Um, you start producing a chemical in your adipose fat layer called adiponectin, and this can revert type 2 diabetes, and it can improve your metabolism, and help your whole guts to work better. And it even goes down to the point that as soon as you enter a forest and relax, you increase the biodiversity in your gut flora. So just the forest is just so rich with these anti-microbes, with these rich air, with funguses, with all these lovely natural things. And when we kind of spend time in this space, everything just gets boosted.
Mm.
So, but one of the most important things for forest bathing is really actually is that intention before you go into the forest. You know, I'm
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. What's the difference between just going for a walk in the woods and you mentioned before, like mindfully and intentionally um,
yeah. So
spending that time?
it's really about an intention of healing to put
Mm.
your brain in the right place, and then also making a few different changes. So leave your phone behind or switch it off. Don't bring your dogs. Ideally, don't bring your children. You want to be with as little distractions as possible so you can allow the forest to distract you. One person described forest bathing as going into the forest with the body of a 97-year-old, but with the brain of a 7-year-old. So you're still intrigued and you want to look and you want to touch. So you want to be kind of really engaging with the forest. And what the Japanese do is they've realized that if you use and focus on your senses, it helps you enter this mindful state. So what they say is that when you can achieve a mindful state, a transcendental place where you're open, then the healing powers are higher. So
Mm.
um, we usually start with a slow walk and then an actual sit down where we will just look at the trees. Um, in Japan, they're quite clever. They prescribe forest bathing to 3 million people a year.
Mm.
They have nearly 70 forests to go to. They call it Shinrin-yoku, which translates as to bathe or shower in the forest's atmosphere.
Mm.
So they have a blood test on their arrival at the forest and they have a digital printout of their health. And then after 2 to 4 hours, they have another blood test to show them how their health has improved over that period of time, which then inspires them to go and do this more frequently. So it actually inspires people to say, look, I can take my physical and mental health into my own hands and it's completely accessible. You know, it doesn't cost money to spend time in nature.
Mm.
Um, you don't have to walk
Mm.
far or at all. Some people go and just spend time with one or two trees. The definition of bathing means a forest is more than one tree, but one tree is enough, you know, to have a physical and mental benefit. Um, I think they said that if you go to a hospital and you have a view of a tree, your recovery time is 50% quicker than those who don't have a view of a tree.
Goodness me.
So just the visuals of a tree can be inspiring, can boost creativity, it can make your problems feel smaller
Mm.
because this world is evolving. You know, I think they call it active benignity when you enter a forest and realize this whole natural world is constantly evolving and moving without you,
Mm.
which makes your problems seem maybe less important, you know. And it's just got that really powerful kind of edge to it. So they've shown that seeing trees and seeing nature helps prevent injury, prevent illness, but it also helps you recover quicker. So it's got a double-edged sword really to things. Um, it's a fascinating experience when you come into the woods and you look closely at the details, you know,
Mm.
and really kind of get into it. And I find after taking nearly 2,000 people into the forests, it still amazes me how people will say, I've never sat down in the forest before without something to do, you know?
Yeah.
When they come to a woods, they're usually walking. They stop to have a sandwich or a drink, to check their phone or check a map, but not to sit and stare.
Mm.
And, you know, when people lie down and look at the tree branches, it's so engaging for our brains. I think we can look at tree fractal patterns of tree branches for longer than any other type of pattern. And um, and then when you kind of go through all of the sensory aspects of it, you realize that the sounds of the forest can be taken out of the forest and they can help you work for longer periods of time, get less stressed, help boost creativity. The smells of a forest, I think in America now they have woodland sense, sensory things pumping out woodland smells across all A&E departments. They realized that the patients were quicker to treat. They were calmer, they were less stressed. The staff worked for longer hours with less stress, less breaks, and violent crimes against the staff dropped
Wow.
Incredible.
just
Incredible.
from having the smell of a forest.
Do people get emotional or when they come and do this forest bathing? It sounds to me like I think
It,
if I did it, I might.
it can be.
Yeah.
Um, we have a training company come here and they're involved with quite a lot of studies around the world. I think there's over 100,000 studies right now. And they took the lecturer from Bournemouth Uni into the woods with electrics on his head to read his brain activity.
Mm.
And the lead guide was the head researcher from China, Dr. King Lee. And he's very strict and he made them go extremely slowly. And for the lead lecturer, he burst into tears with all these emotions came forwards because he's not slowed down that quickly. So it can bring a lot of emotions forward. When I take people into the forest, it's usually a mindful but also a playful experience.
Mm.
And I invite or encourage people to learn the tools of forest bathing and then head out and have some time to actually engage with it. If you want to go really deep, it's about being secure and feeling comfortable to do it. And I've had people who have had a lot of emotions come forwards from the forests, but never in a way which was upsetting for them.
Mm. And I had years ago, I had a flotation tank session and I was just in bits after it. It just made me, I love the sound of it, but it just made me think I might have to get my head around dealing with that.
I think with a sensory deprivation tank, it's very consuming. You're very much in there. Whereas when you're in forest, you stop producing stress hormones.
Right.
So as soon as you enter the woods, you stop producing all stress hormones and you start producing calming hormones. And those calming hormones have a ripple effect through your body.
Yeah.
It's extremely calming to do that.
Mm.
And it means that people just switch when they enter the forest a little bit.
Mm.
You naturally activate your parasympathetic nervous system when you enter the woods. And the sensory and mindfulness helps you to increase that parasympathetic. So when we say parasympathetic, it's our rest and digest phase. It's also known as like our animal brain, because you're activating your stomach brain and you're decreasing your sympathetic nervous system. And it takes away that flight and fight reaction and it pulls out this rest and digest function, which enables some of these feelings to actually move, maybe even shift.
Mm. I'll
Um,
have some of that.
yeah. Well, a study showed that doing psychotherapy under a tree is 72% more effective than doing it in a room because
Amazing.
because you stop producing the stress hormones. They say you can talk about harder subjects without them maybe triggering you as much,
Mm.
but your creativity is boosted under a tree, so you can problem solve.
Mm.
And if you're moving in the trees slowly, and you're walking slowly, every step on it, alternative feet triggers the different sides of your brain. So that enables you to bring emotion and then logic into your brain. So moving slowly can actually kind of level and balance out those emotions that might be coming forwards.
Oh, thank you. That's reassuring.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I had a lady who said, good luck with me today. I cannot be mindful. Yeah, my brain, my monkey brain, it's just so active. I can't meditate. I can't do any of that. And I said, well, when we get into the trees and we sit down, look at the forest. And if you have a feeling or a thought that comes into you, look at something else. And every time a thought comes into your brain, look away and look at another part of the forest. And she actually wrote an article about it, saying that forest bathing was the only way she could reach mindfulness. So it's so powerful, you know.
Sounds it.
Um, and you can control how deep you go, you know, by, you know, some people like to sit and spend a long time in that zone, in that calm space. And other people like to keep moving and keep it more active and to find other things to kind of keep their mind, keep their brain thoughts in the still in the zone, but without going too deep, you know. So you can
Mm.
control it how far you want to take it. Um,
Thank you.
that's okay.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So what does a typical sort of session of forest bathing like with you? What does
And
it look?
my main job is to slow everybody down.
Mm.
Um, slow people down and to get them to notice. So we activate our touching. We try
Mhm.
to touch as many things as we walk along. We try to smell things. We try to look at the intricate nature that is surrounding us while we're walking through, whether it's mushrooms or how the trees are, you know, connecting or speaking, or maybe even different stages of where the trees are in their producing leaves or losing leaves, because that can show different personalities. And we try to have a mindful moment where we sit and be still and look. We also use that opportunity to listen to the birds, to the wind in the leaves, any sounds that we can hear. We like to take our shoes and socks off and do a barefoot walk, which helps us to slow down. It helps us to ground. We do it up an ancient path, which is thousands of years old. And um, that is a really good connecting part of the process as well. And then I have a few activities. One's called human camera, where one person closes their eyes and pretends to be a camera, and their partner walks them around and gets them to open their eyes to take pictures. Oh, it's a bit of fun. And it's because you're taking away your eyesight, it makes all your other senses pick up and get heightened. Um, and we have another one where you have to close your eyes and get led around the woods and then touch a tree for a minute with your eyes closed and then get taken away. And then you open your eyes and you have to go and find your tree.
Mm.
And it's really nice because actually when you start touching the trees with your hands, you instantly produce oxytocin in your brain, the love drug, the love hormone. And that creates this wonderful energy in the people when they find their tree, they feel connected. And it's so engaging that they are really in the moment. And it's all about, for me, keeping the people in the moment, keeping them present, keeping them in awe of this magical kind of space. And that usually takes 2 hours.
I'm sure it does.
And it's around about a 25-minute walk.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it
Incredible.
really is about slowing right down. We talk a lot about the trees and how they're connected under the ground with the mushrooms and the mycelium. You know, we could talk about that for a long time because it's just absolutely fascinating how a mushroom comes along under the ground and connects the tree roots together. And through that mushroom, they send food to the other trees and they can send electrical pulses to communicate. And when a tree gets cut down, all of the trees send energy to the tree stump while they work out, are we going to nurse this tree back to life or are we going to cut it off? And there's some tree stumps in Scandinavia that have been alive for 400 years after they were cut down.
Really? I always feel so sad, you know, a little bit of grief when I see a tree that's been cut down near to me. You really miss them and feel like it needn't have happened. If we weren't here, it wouldn't have happened.
It's very sad sometimes when trees get cut down.
Mm.
If you look at the sycamore tree on the Hadrian's Wall, when that got cut down, a tree which didn't need to be cut down,
Mm.
and how many lives that affected, how many people had that as a very special place to visit, to get engaged, to
Mm.
have celebrations. People connect with these trees. You know, the Shinto in Japan, the oldest religion in Japan, they believe that every tree has an energy. They call it a kami, like a life spirit. A chi, like the Chinese would say, it has an energy, and it's really true. You know, these trees they've got problem solving capabilities, and they can communicate, and they have compassion. You know, they keep their neighbors alive. Parent trees find their kids and give them 30% more energy than the other trees around them.
Wow.
And you just think, well, this is a sentient being,
Yeah.
you know? So it can be very sad when trees get cut down, which didn't need to be. But also human interaction can add hundreds of years to the life of a tree.
Oh, okay.
So if we coppice and look after a tree and remove dead limbs and things like this, they can actually extend the life by hundreds of years. So not all interaction with trees is a negative interaction. And sometimes you might need to take out an injured tree because it might actually come down, and that needs to be tackled in a safe way. So, you know, you can't argue if some forestry has to be done.
Of
But
course. But
in
do you feel
general,
like trees get anything positive from us on that stem cell immune cell exchange? You know, there's lots of pagan traditions, aren't there, where you
yeah, I
nourish
mean,
your
how
trees?
many stories are there of people who put music on for their plants and
Yeah,
trees
yeah,
to grow faster or produce
yeah.
bigger fruit and things like that? Um, there's a proverb, I think it's Taoist proverb, and they say, you know, you can communicate with a tree, you know, don't pick a young tree because his wisdom will not be worth sharing. Don't pick an old tree, it would be too long to tell you. But if you pick a middle-aged tree, near water, they're more talkative, but and sit with it for 45 minutes to an hour and a half, and it will share its wisdom with you. And I've met people who have experienced this, and it's a life-changing experience. Um, and yeah, I think that our presence around trees helps them, stimulates them, and I think one of the most kind of important things to remember is that it's not about connecting with nature, it's about realizing that we are nature. What the trees breathe in is what we breathe out. And we are symbiotic with the trees because what they breathe out, we breathe in. So without each other, we wouldn't do so well, you know. So the trees are, and the trees and all of kind of nature are paramount to our physical health. And I think it's, you know, we stopped living predominantly surrounded by trees around 500 years ago. And over those 500 years, we have struggled. And the amount of illnesses and diseases which are around today, chronic illnesses, chronic diseases, could well be that natural disconnection with the natural world. Um, they've now proved that bees are healthier when they live in trees. They now give bees a mushroom supplement to keep
Oh,
their immune systems healthy
mm,
because they no longer live in the trees that produced all of these fungal cells which helped boost them.
yeah.
So if the bees are so like reliant on this natural world,
Mm,
so are we, and every animal too. And
mm,
everything in the forest works in a partnership.
mm,
The trees start breathing when the birds start singing.
mm.
They don't start breathing when the sun comes up. The frequencies of the bird song tells the trees it's time to start breathing. So they all work together.
Yeah, yeah.
And we have disconnected ourselves so heavily from this natural world, to the point that some people find it scary, frightening, dirty. You know, um, it's a sad state of affairs, really, because this is really where we should be spending a lot of our time. Nobody really knows that the government recommends we go forest bathing once a month.
They
No,
do.
it's
They
that.
do, yeah, it's on their website,
Really?
gov.uk. Search it, forest bathing. They recommend we go once a month to boost our NK cells.
That's
Um,
incredible.
but
And
other countries offer it as part of their healthcare provision. Japan, South Korea, Switzerland, Austria, Germany, Scandinavia, America a little bit, Canada. There's a lot of countries that are already getting people to go to the forests for physical, mental health reasons. Um, In Scotland, I think now they say if you're feeling, go to the doctors and say you're feeling a bit depressed, they say go for a 4 hour hike in nature first before we talk about any tablets, you know, go out and experience it. And now in the UK, in England, there are social prescription charities, and I've even taken some nurses and people like that forest bathing so that they can advise it to their patients. So we're catching up. In Dorking, there's a bus that picks people up and takes them to a forest for free forest bathing.
And where, sorry?
Dorking, there's a forest in Surrey,
All right.
which is a partnership with the Institute of Forest Bathing and the English Woodland, and they have a forest bathing space where they offer it for free for people and up to 6 sessions for free. So that's one little pocket. We just need a few more.
We need many,
And,
many more.
and we need the doctors to read up on it. You know, they recommend it to children at the moment who might have like neurological kind of conditions. And they are introducing it to people in very low, you know, in low quantities. But the global movement and awareness of the benefits of doing this is you know, is growing so fast. For Japan, they've turned around and said, after 35 years of scientific exploration, they said no more research, no more funding for research into forest bathing. It's clear it's so good for you. We are now going to put all of our money into developing more forests.
Yeah. How perfect.
And they're even doing it with virtual reality headsets for people who can't leave their hospital beds. So they can do it on a virtual headset, and somebody comes in with something to smell and touch, and they do forest bathing without moving.
Golly, we've got a long way to go, haven't we? Have you always known this about trees? Have you always been in love with trees? What's your journey to this point then?
My journey is that as a child, I had access to forests, and I was a beaver cub scout. I used to go to the forests and play hide and seek, swings, tree climbing, whatever it might be. But then, of course, as soon as I hit 17 and learnt to drive, I started going to the cities, going to the towns, went to university, and my brother sadly committed suicide. And for a number of years, I felt quite lost and depressed. And when I moved back to the country, I moved back to the Wye Valley and started spending time in the forests again, I felt this reconnection to this space that was so healing and safe. And it really helped me on my journey. And you know, it's that grounding of being amongst the trees. It is definitely the active benignity of yeah, just feeling peace when you're in this space. And my wife started running yoga retreats, and I started taking people on walks in nature, you know, and I didn't quite realize what forest bathing was at that stage, but we went into the woods and we looked at the trees, and it was a bit faster paced than what I do now. But it felt right for me to do that. And then it was actually a friend of ours said you should look into forest bathing, and I kind of read and I thought this is right up my street. Not only is it backed by a lot of scientific evidence, um, it resonated with me as being accessible, as being natural, and just feeling positive about it, you know. And I went and did a training course, and the one day we were in an ancient forest in Dartmoor for the whole day, doing the activities that I do on my training, on my experiences. And the feeling I had when I came out of the forest was a sense of I just had a 2 hour deep tissue massage. I was tingling. I was euphoric. I was so relaxed. And I felt if I feel like this, a bit of a skeptic, a bit of a, you know, a bit rigid guy that I was, if I feel like this, then
Yeah.
I imagine that the most people who come to the woods are going to feel the same way. And I was converted instantly. And now I spend my days when I'm walking my dogs, I try my best to make it mindful
Mhm.
if I can.
Yeah.
And it's funny that when I sit down in the woods with my dogs, who are two hunting dogs, sadly, they're not supposed to be. When they go into the woods, they are alive.
Yeah.
When I sit down and spend 10 minutes just looking, they stop
Do they?
and they sit.
Wow.
And it's a wonderful experience that they're connecting with me on the level that I'm on.
Yeah.
And it may only be for 10 minutes, but it brings huge amounts of peace. Even in the pine forests, the commercial forestry pine forests,
Mm.
the pine trees give off a gas. It's called pinine, and it's been proven to be an antidepressant.
Mm.
Um, and in fact, going into the woods, any forest can be faster acting than taking any type of antidepressant tablets on reducing your feelings of depression. So it is a powerful tool to bring that out of people. But I benefit every time I take a group out forest bathing because I do get anxious naturally. I do get nervous, and as soon as we get into the woods and sit down, I feel the benefits that everybody else is feeling.
Yeah.
You know, I can feel myself calming,
Mm.
and my chest loosening,
Mm.
and it just brings me so much joy to do it. So the journey of moving from walking people around the forest and spending time in the forest myself, and then noticing the difference when you slow down
Mm.
was so powerful and still
Amazing.
amazes me every
Mm.
time I do it. So I think I've been taking people for 5 years now around the forests, and um, my route has only got shorter and shorter and shorter,
Mm.
um, because I just struggled to get it all in the time.
Yeah.
And the slower you go, the more powerful, the more connected you get.
Mm.
And when you enter the woods, your blood pressure drops instantly for all people. And the hiking or the walking, for some people, up a slight gradient can lift their blood pressure up again.
Mm.
So I just have to keep making it slower and slower and slower,
Mm.
often to suit the slowest person in the group, but also just to give people that calmer
Mm.
experience. And yeah, it's all about slowing down,
Mm.
being present
Yeah.
and not getting out of breath.
Yeah, definitely not. So
Um,
what kind of changes do you see in people straight after the session?
um, you you naturally see people just being a lot calmer.
Mm.
Um, you see people smiling and often being kind of blown away in a way about it. We have people who come on retreats here who come for the yoga, they know what that is. And
Yeah.
they openly say to me, I was really not interested in the forest bathing, but afterwards they've done it. They say it was possibly the best thing that they did
Mhm.
because they had no expectations. Um, and they didn't quite understand what the impact would be of slowing down in the forest. So you get them. I think one of the most magical experiences was when it's actually drizzling. It was
Mm.
just drizzling for pretty much the whole 2.5 hours that we were in the woods. But when it rains, you get petrichor, the smell of the earth after rain. Each water droplet releases essential oils up into the air. So the smells were stronger. The sound of the pitter patter of rain everywhere was totally engrossing. And when doing these mindful activities, you could really see that everybody had gone into a very deep state of peace and relaxing. And everybody was just euphoric, um, spaced out from it,
Yeah.
you know, utter calmness. And they felt it throughout their whole bodies. And it was like I'd given them a, you know, a very deep guided meditation, you
Mm.
know, and it was, yeah, it was just a really wonderful experience for everybody. So you see this calmness come out in people. You
Mm.
see this excitement come out in people as well, you know, and um that it people just get kind of really blown away by some of the scientific facts which have just constantly being proven.
Mm.
um you know, the advances in science have been able for us to prove quite a lot of what's going on in the forest which we never understood before.
Yeah.
We might have felt it in the past why these things are good for us, but now we can scientifically explain why these different things are good for you, you know. And so yeah, it's wonderful. It really is wonderful.
So what size groups do you take?
um the biggest group I've had to take was 40 people, and I decided right at the beginning I needed help. The,
Yeah.
the group was too big. So somebody came and helped me split the group into two so that we could try and have a more intimate experience. I take groups of 1 to 15 on average. Most of the time I'm either taking couples or I'm taking groups of 10, 12 people, you know. Because we have this different demographic of people coming to our farm. And I do it on two other holiday sites as well, different glamp sites. So if we've got a retreat on, we have 10, 12 people, 14 people. And if we have glamping season, we have smaller groups, maybe a family or maybe just a couple or even individuals. And um, people from all walks of life, you know, we could be business people, it could be nurses and doctors, it could be mindfulness coaches who want to see some different way of doing it. Um, it's broad, really broad. Um, it's great when I have people on groups because they really think that we're going swimming. The name forest bathing just seems
Amazing.
people. One lady goes, "You're not getting me in any water." And I said, "Look, the good news is there's no water." Oh, I said, "We're bathing in the atmosphere." She said, "Oh, well, I might come." And actually, she was one of the people who loved it the most. You know,
Mm.
it's um, it's an eye-opening experience, and I still get, I don't know, a lot of people who are too scared to take their shoes and socks off.
Mm.
Um, and I still get people who struggle with certain elements. You know, there's people who struggle to even turn their phone off or leave that behind, you
Mm.
know. And it's really amazing that when they do it and they do connect. And I always am blown away by the feedback, you know,
Mm.
when you get an email from somebody saying that was magical
Mm.
and I come and do another round, you know. Can I come? Is there another level of can we come and do it again? Yeah, but yeah, it's really nice to see that. And my first ever session was actually not long after training, and it was World's Men's Mental Health Day, Men's Mental Health Day. And I said, because my brother's suicide, I'm going to take a group of men out. Does anybody want to come forest bathing? And I was blown away that about 40 men got in touch and said, we want to come, you know? And in the end, there was about 12 of us from 18 years old to 60 years old, all walks of life, a vicar. Um, it was just diverse. And we did forest bathing like I typically always do. We made a little fire and cooked breadsticks and had a cup of pine needle tea. And then we played a 2 hour game of hide and seek.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And the one guy, we couldn't find him, and he'd covered himself in leaves to the point that he was invisible on the floor. And the joy from that experience for me and the people. But one of my friends said it really moved him. And he'd struggled with his mental health for a long time. And every Sunday for the next 3 months, he went to the forest.
Mm.
And he said it was a really important part of his journey back into self-confidence, back into a journey of self-healing.
Mm.
opened up doors which he was afraid to open before that. So I was blown away by that. I really wasn't expecting that reaction, and
Mm.
so yeah, it moved me, and it still does now. The positive reactions, and I think I've only had one person who didn't want to do it, who
Mm.
didn't enjoy it,
Yeah.
and she just wanted to go for a walk. And that was a sign of probably where they were in their in their life journey.
Mm.
But I'm always blown away by the amount of people who are, yeah, converted, shall we say, who didn't want to do it, but it had such a positive impact. Yeah.
Mm. And how could we find out about for instance, the glamping site that then you could do forest bathing when you're at the glamping site?
So our website called Hill Farm Tinton.
Oh,
We have a wellness business called Forest Retreats, and forestretreats.co.uk or hillfarmtinton.co.uk. And you can just book for a 2-hour session of forest bathing, or you
oh,
can come and
lovely.
stay. You don't have to stay on site.
Mm.
And we do half-day experiences and full-day experiences and weekend experiences if you want to get involved with my cooking, or we have a spring water filled hot tub and sauna and things like that. So you can kind of tap in. And I try every few months to do a forest bathing open day where I reduce the price down for individuals to come along and experience it for, a smaller fee. And we're doing that this Sunday, and I think I've, got a few people coming, which is nice.
Mm.
And yeah, it's we I do it on a client by client basis. So often people get in touch and say, I'm in the area, can I come and do some forest bathing?
Yeah.
And if I've got space in the diary, I'll take people.
Mm.
It's really good.
That's very good.
There's a
Thank you.
book called Shinrin Yoku by Dr. King Lee, who's the lead scientist, and it's one of those books that you can read in an evening. It's quite big text and lovely pictures, and it tells you all about the forest bathing and the science of it in a really nice and easy to read fashion.
Mm.
And I really enjoyed a book called The Hidden Life of Trees by a German scientist called Peter Wullenben. And he talks about the trees in such a lovely way that sparks interest, and makes you want to go and look for these interesting things, and tells you a lot about the trees, which makes you then, yeah, it sparks that quest for knowledge and experience in the woods, which, yeah,
But
very good.
this session has definitely done that for me already. So thank you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Yeah, the trees are just a wonderful environment to be in. You know,
Mm.
all of these things that they do for us, which we have forgotten, you know, and it's not just the trees, because any green space brings you grounding,
Mm.
any natural space brings you calming, and it brings you so many health benefits. But the gases that these trees produce are what boosts us on a number of extra levels, you know.
Mm.
And when you're in a forest, it's extremely immersive, and all of these mindful practices become easier, because we all know that mindfulness is really good for us. It's been proven time and time again that mindfulness is a powerful tool for mental calmness, but not all of us can achieve
Mm.
mindfulness in a,
Especially in your own home setting, or to be somewhere different, like in a forest.
yeah, it's just um easier
Mm.
easier for me. I really struggle to sit in a room and do mindfulness. I have to have headphones on and somebody instructing me for
Mm.
me to achieve that mindfulness, and it doesn't always work.
Mm.
My active monkey brain always kicks in, you know. But when you're in this natural setting amongst the trees, and we've got all these calming gases which are influencing us, um, it's so much reachable, it's
Mm.
tangible, how much easier it gets for me, especially, and I know that's the case for a lot of people. So it's yeah, it just makes it all accessible. And if it can be accessible, then it's a great thing. Um
Oh.
I think Charlotte Church does it every day. You know, she goes and sits in a tree every morning before the kids get up. And she says, I won't say what she says because it's a bit rude, but she says if she doesn't do it, the whole day goes down, you know. Um, and just to kind of get out in your garden
Mm,
and just sit peacefully with the sounds of the birds, with if you've got a tree, fantastic, but if not, try and find somewhere where you've got a magical space. I think one activity in forest bathing is to go into a woods and make a nest and just have a nap.
mm.
I
How
mean,
amazing.
how wonderful is that?
It's wonderful.
Um,
What are other sort of simple ways that people can bring this into their own world, do you think? It sounds like something that would be beneficial to connect with on a really regular basis, but also make an effort maybe once a month to do it in a more immersive kind of way.
they say the simple way to forest bathe is to look at 5 different things in the forest, hear 4 different sounds,
Mm,
touch 3 different things, smell 2 different things, and if you are got some knowledge, taste something. You don't have to swallow it, but blackberries are great. Beech leaves, there's certain things which you can taste. But you can only swallow something if you know what it is. You know, I'm not getting into any trouble for, people, oh, I'm going to eat this mushroom. No, you have to be really careful with the eating part, but blackberries and things like that are always quite safe.
mm,
Um, but that gives you a simple thing. It's about going into the woods and slowing down and then trying to activate your senses,
mm,
which just help lead you down that road to a more zenful place. You
mm,
know, they say that if you do forest bathing for an hour, you'll have 15 days of boosted NK cells. Obviously, 2 hours gives you that full 30 days. So, really, once a month, you need to be doing a 2-hour session in the forest.
mm,
You don't have to move very far, but that's to give you the best kind of on that level. But I would just try to really look, really smell, really feel your way around the forest. Try and get off the path, and actually find somewhere where nobody else goes. As
mm,
soon as you walk off a path, it stops you from walking aimlessly in a fast direction because you have to look and engage with where you're walking. You don't want to be tripping over and falling over, but going off the path will slow you down, and help you find a place where you can maybe sit in quiet, in peace.
mm,
Um, but the most important thing is to be present in that space,
mm,
you know, to allow the relaxed state of mind to come in.
mm,
The forest will do that all for you, but with your intention, it will be easier,
mm,
you know. So I think that's one of the most important things to do is just be present in that natural setting.
mm. Great advice. We're all going to be going immediately outside, I can tell. Zoya put a note on the chat and just was a vote for your cooking. She said it's amazing.
Yeah.
Zoya, I think you've been on a forest bathing experience with Tom. I don't know if you're there at the moment, but
I'm here, yeah. I've
you're
been a few times. I could go every month, every week. It's just amazing. So yeah, I really, really highly recommend. And the space for glamping and retreats is just beautiful. And if you're into yoga, Haley's yoga, everything about it is just wonderful. So big recommendation from me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
super. Did you have anything that you wanted to ask Tom, James, while we're
I'm just fascinated by the whole topic. So I'm a bereavement counsellor, and a few of the things we've actually done are in line. So we did some horticultural bereavement work for people who couldn't express themselves, didn't want to express themselves in quite the normal 50-minute session.
Yeah.
That was absolutely incredible working with people, and we did the classic things like grow some food and then ate the food together as a special feast. That was absolutely beautiful experience. And I spent a lot of my childhood down in Cornwall, living on a farm. So I was kind of prepped already for this sort of thing. The bit I found really fascinating was the stuff around the chemicals being released into the atmosphere. I think that's very important. I hadn't heard that before, but I really like that idea to really ground it, to so that people understand what they're being offered and the plus points. I tell all my clients to go into the forest. It's a standard thing for me. I normally give them absolutely no advice initially, and it's fantastic how many people come back and say, I didn't really feel much, and you sort of say, well, what did you do? Well, I was on the phone, obviously, and I was chatting to, and there was one lady who I just remember she was saying, oh, my friend phoned up and she decided to divorce her husband, and I was like, and how did that work? How did that make you feel? And she just went, I didn't do it right, did I? So I'm not saying that. I'm just, how did you experience it? And what do you think you might do next time? And she said, I'm just going to never answer the phone. I'm going to not going to even take the phone to the walk. So, no, I really love everything you're doing. And I think that absolutely vital what you said about antidepressants, because I'm from the generation where you got antidepressants, whatever you were doing. So I'm totally with all the alternative versions of that. There's even now they're saying go to a comedy night, anything to just stop people being put on antidepressants for the rest of their lives.
Yeah,
for sure. Sunshine, water, good food.
And I live directly opposite a horticultural therapy centre. So 2 years ago, I had a brain aneurysm, and I nursed myself, I suppose, back to, I couldn't talk, couldn't walk. And 2 years ago, I found the horticultural therapy centre, and it changed my life. Well, it changed my life from being dead, basically.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. The power of nature and plants and trees and everything
Absolutely.
like that.
And I've now got a whole load of friends who are horticultural therapists.
Good friends to have.
Absolutely right.
How wonderful.
Touching on that point about the phone is quite good, because the phones are such a distraction, but also we clash with all digital and electrical devices because we are positive energy beings. So having any type of electrical device on you is going to almost limit your electrical connection with the forest or with the natural world. So it is really vital to leave that phone behind or switch it off. We even say flight mode is okay, but it's not the best. Leave that phone behind so that you can not only physically connect but electrically connect.
What I found so interesting is, for a generation, that's incredibly complex to do. To actually leave the phone behind, actually not take it with you.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
I'd find that hard.
I know quite a few therapists who struggle.
yeah.
A few of my friends are like, oh, no, I couldn't.
I have a lot of people saying, but I want to take pictures. And I say,
Yeah.
I'll take my phone and I'll take the pictures and I will send them to you afterwards. Please leave your phone behind. And they are all grateful for doing it.
Yeah. And also we did a lot of bereavement walks through nature. We live near London, so I mean, there's some beautiful areas there, and just in London, just to utilize that and get people. I mean, there's so few people that are actually using some of these spaces. It's quite scary, really. We've just lost a generation to it.
Yeah.
Lost the understanding of how helpful it is to be connected in nature in some way.
Yeah.
But I really feel like there's a big movement that's coming back, and let's hope it continues to be more popular. I'm seeing forest bathing talked about everywhere, so that can only be a good thing. And you know, we had lots of people that registered for this talk that will be watching the recording, and you know, and we just keep spreading all of these wonderful concepts, because everybody that knows about it is talking to other people about it, and that's how a movement grows, isn't it? Amazing.
Yeah, well,
So
I'd not heard of it before you put up about the talk, and
right.
I'm
Well, that's
fascinated
great.
by it, and very keen to get on and experience it. So
yeah, how fantastic. That's really good to hear. So everyone that registered, we will be emailing Tom and letting them know how to access the recording. But if you could also share with me the details of those books, and we'll share about your website and any things that you've got. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Tom.